welcome to this episode of ArtsAbly in Conversation. My name is Diane Collin. This series presents artists, academics, and project leaders who dedicate their time and energy to a better accessibility for people with disabilities in the arts. You can find more of these conversations on our website, artsably.com, which is spelled ArtsAbly.com. Today, ArtsAbly is in conversation with Deshaymond, a singer, songwriter, and producer living in Atlanta. You can find the resources mentioned by Deshaymond during this episode on ArtsAbly's website in the blog section.
I can't do this.
Face tonight, I'm calling your name. Please hear my lonely cry, 'cause I endure the pain I feel when I sleep alone at night. I try so hard to free myself, but all I can do is cry, 'cause
Welcome to this new episode of ArtsAbly in Conversation. Today I am with Deshaymond, who is a singer, songwriter, and producer living in Atlanta. Welcome, Deshaymond.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I've listened to your work, and it's really fascinating. A little bit of your story, and we're here to talk about your journey in your musical activities today. So I wanted to ask if you could tell us a little bit about your background, where you come from, where you grew up, and also your first musical experiences. Where did music come from in your life?
Oh, yeah. Again, thank you for having me. I really love your work, and I love what you're doing with ArtsAbly. So thank you for doing this. My name is Deshaymond. I'm originally from Lafayette, Louisiana, USA. And this is kind of music is my first act that I'm going back to. So like my second act in life, but my first act. I've been studying music since I was 5 years old, studying classical music since I was 5 years old, and just living in a neighborhood that studying classical is not necessarily, the thing that a lot of people do. It was a little bit hard. I didn't quite fit in. I was definitely one of those music nerds and all of that stuff. But you know, I did grow up doing that and fell in love with music. I started writing songs at a very young age, and I played a few instruments. One of my first instruments was the triangle. Then, you know, it became the cymbals and the wood block. And then, of course, everyone's first wind instrument is the recorder, right?
Mhm.
So I started playing that, and I moved up to playing flute and piccolo. So I play a few instruments, and I just love music. I went through high school competing and also college competing in music for voice and also instrumental music. And then, you know, life got real. Adulting became real, you know, and I had a career in corporate America uh, in payroll and HR. How boring, right, for an artist? But, you know, payroll and HR paid the bills while, you know, I was going through life and figuring it out. And I had some great opportunities there because I actually learned the business. I learned business as a whole, which helps me now in my career as an entrepreneur, a music entrepreneur. The music business is a whole new animal, but at least I have the business acumen now. In 2015, I lost my sight, my eyesight. It started deteriorating rapidly due to a condition I have called optic atrophy. And it just led me to make so many different life changes. And I kind of had to go and find myself again and find what really moved me, what I was really passionate about. And, you know, it led me back to music. It really showed me that I'm supposed to be doing this. And now I'm so in love with my career. I'm so in love with my art. I'm so in love with, you know, anything to do with music that I'm on fire for it. So that's kind of like the long story of who I am and how I came to be, you know, a music artist.
So you were trained in classical with all these instruments,
Yes.
percussive instruments and wind instruments and everything. And as a classical, did you do a lot as a classical musician, or was it just during your studies and then you
It
decided to go
was
another way?
it was mostly during my studies. Um, I did it in high school and also in college, but my personal passion was always, you know, R&B, soul, pop music, you know, with a little bit of blues and southern soul and rock. So that was always my personal favorite. And I kind of leveraged everything I learned classically, both as a singer and, you know, just as a musician, and just kind of pour little bitty bits of classical into everything that I do, whether it's like vowel placement or it's how I hold a note or my vibrato or something. I try to put a little bit of my classical training in there while still trying to, you know, give soulful, because that's really where my heart is.
Yes, and I could hear that in your last album, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So can you talk about what you're doing now? This album, but also your producer. So how long did it take for you to produce this album? What were your challenges along the way?
You know, it took me, I started working on this album years ago, actually. This album was supposed to be here years ago when I first did music in my early 20s, before corporate America and all of that stuff. But it was so good to go back and pick up those songs, dust them off, reimagine them, and, you know, bring it to life. I actually started re recording this album in 2021, December of 2021. I worked with my one of my great friends, Grammy nominated producer Super Mario. He helped me through it. Literally, he called me out of the blue and asked me to sing at his wedding, and I had not sang in years. And we just talked for hours. And I'm like, you know, Rich, I really don't know what I'm doing. You know, I don't have the corporate career anymore. I don't know what I need to do. And I'm like, if I decided to do music again, would you help me? And he said, in a heartbeat. you know, and kind of the rest is history. Of course, I ended up performing at his wedding, and he had such a beautiful wedding, he and his lovely wife, Jacqueline. And we worked on this album. He came to Atlanta. I went to Houston. We just worked and worked and worked until we got it right. And we were happy with the sound and everything that we we created. And you know, 2024, here it is. I am, you know.
Yeah. So tell us more about this album.
I Am is, of course, my debut album. I hold it so close to my heart because it really is, to me, in my very, very humble opinion, a depiction of all of the little bitty parts of me that make me who I am, right? I'm a little bit sophisticated. I'm a little bit ratchet. You know, I grew up in the gutter, but I'm also a classical musician. You know, I also sing opera and classical music, you know. So I think I'm a good balance of both, you know. And that's what this album is. You know, the songs are real stories that I've experienced in my own life. um the instrumentation, the music, I tried to do, of course, you know, some of the stuff in the DAW and use sounds that really sounded like real instruments mixed in with live instruments, which a lot of people don't do anymore. But I wanted it to have that authentic feel. And what I think I Am is, not only is it a depiction of who I am, but it's also human. It's a very human piece of music. You know, I didn't want every song to be so perfect. You know how people record now, where they record line by line, and
Mhm.
every little thing is so prim and proper and perfect. I wanted to hear some rasp, and I wanted people to be able to hear when my voice broke. I wanted people to hear me emoting in a way. You know, if I was gravelly that day, or if I wanted to just push really, really hard, I wanted them to hear every breath and all of that. So Rich and I, we didn't use any auto tune. We didn't use any of that. We left it as organic as possible while still trying to make sure it was polished. And this album, the way it sounds and the way it feels to me, I just want people to understand who I am and just really enjoy quality, you know, human music, because everything is so mechanical and computerized now. We're not feeling, at least for me, I'm not feeling the emotion in it. So I really wanted to make an emotional album that really made people feel something. And I really hope I did it.
Oh yeah, for my opinion is that you did.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane.
And
Tell the
we will
world.
post that for sure on RTP's website so that people can listen to it, and it's available everywhere now. It's available on Spotify and Apple
Everywhere,
Music. Did you
all
what
over the world. It's
in the world?
available everywhere internationally, on all streaming services internationally. So we're really, really proud of that. And the reception has been warm so far. So I just want everybody to hear it. If you have not heard it, it's called I Am by yours truly, Deshaymond. And it's a great body of work. So I'm such an album artist where I love the whole picture. You know, tell me a story. And I know people are moving away from that now, but I'm such an album artist. I love it. I grew up in the 90s, right? So where we had some of the greatest albums of all time in the 80s and 90s. So in my humble opinion. So I wanted to make something that kind of had a little bit of nostalgia and made people remember that. And it was a cohesive body of work. So yes, go stream it, please.
And who are your singers influences?
Oh my God. I have so many influences. Um, but it's pretty, I would say I have an eclectic blend of singers. So when I tell you, you're probably going to be like, huh? But, you know, my favorite artist of all time is Monica. Absolutely love Monica. I think that no one emotes like her in R&B and pop music, and I think that's a dying art. So she is definitely one of my influences. Luther Vandross, of course. I respect him so much, and knowing more of his story, knowing his sexuality, that of course came out after, you know, his death, and rest his soul. You know, it just really made me appreciate him even more. You know, he taught all of us how to sing, really, you know, but to know that he literally had to sacrifice a piece of himself to, or hide a piece of himself to, you know, have this career and to influence so many people is very humbling. And I'm proud to be an openly gay, you know, disabled artist. You know, I love to say that. Maxwell is another one of my influences. I absolutely love him. I think his cool and his smooth and his sexy and his sophistication is what I really, really try to emulate a little bit. A little bit of his falsetto, but definitely, you know, his smooth and the way he delivers. Lenny Kravitz is a huge inspiration to me. Um, I just remember how bold he was and still is, obviously, very sexy, but he's so himself. And there's nothing like his rock rasp, you know. There's nothing like that. So I love Lenny Kravitz, you know, Usher, Tevin Campbell, Brandy, you know, Whitney Houston. Literally, I remember being 6 and 7 years old and hearing Whitney Houston sing Miracle. I can't remember which album of hers that was off of, but I'm like, I want to hit those notes. And how does she just hold it like that? So Whitney Houston, her entire catalog is a lesson in breathing and power and tone and just goodness. So I don't know if there's a singer on this planet that has not been influenced by her in some way. You know, and the list can go on and on. Of course, you know, Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles. You know, I pull energy from them being a blind artist. You know, how operating as a blind person and still having to be on and be in front of people and you're not knowing what's going on around you half of the time, or you're not seeing people respond to you, but it's a feeling, it's an energy.
Mhm.
So I definitely tap into them when I'm performing because I know what it's like now. I can almost feel what they felt like, knowing that there's thousands of people looking at you, but you know, you can't see them and you have to imagine their faces and feel their energy. So so many great musicians. I can't even, you know, name them all, but yeah.
When I'm thinking of Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles, it was this kind of energy that was so powerful that you could
Yes,
only react, right? You could only take it
yes,
and have this joy of receiving. And I think
absolutely.
our way as an audience to give up, to give back. I mean,
Yes.
it's really to send this energy back and to
Hmm.
feel it. And that's really, I always had this feeling with them. That's something that
Yes.
is impactful for
It definitely is. And it used to kind of light me on fire a little bit because I loved the way this is probably going to sound crazy, but I love the way Stevie Wonder moves when he performs.
mm,
He's so it doesn't have to look like what everyone else looks like, right? And I remember seeing him, and I remember Ray Charles sitting down at the piano, and he's just moving his body however the music moves him. And Stevie does that same thing. And it just shows that it was really coming from a different place. You know, that music was really coming from a different place. They were playing it and it was coming through them, but it was so organic. And I love that feeling in music. Yes. So
one thing
powerful.
that we got from our generation of artists is that we are now more and more in mainstream media, and
Yes.
we at the time where um, us as artists, we didn't have necessarily role models to grow up,
No, no.
but now it's coming more and more. And also it's we start to see artists with disabilities or artists
Yes.
with some health issues who don't have any shame
Mhm.
or any,
And they talk about it.
they talk about it,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I think that especially like 80s, 90s, artists had to be these obscure figures that were superheroes, right? But you didn't know that much about them other than what was in their bio, right? But I love that music has opened up and it's real now. It's like people want to know about you. They want to know who you are as a person. They want to know your heart. They want to know what you're thinking. You know what I'm saying? And we don't have to be these superhuman beings, even though they still see us that way because we get up on stage and we come alive, right? But we can actually be more vulnerable now. And it's so crazy. I didn't realize that Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles and Andrea Bocelli, I didn't realize that they would be role models for me because I
Mhm.
never knew that I would be here in my life. But I pull from them so much now because, you know, I saw them do it and I saw
Yeah.
that it was okay. And they looked like me. And, it just, and I enjoyed their music and they made me feel a way. So I tap into them, to their spirit, to their essence now, and just really try to give that same energy, you know? Not worrying
Yeah.
about how my body is moving or what people are thinking or if somebody's judging me. I don't care about that. How is the music being delivered? Am I letting it move through? That's what I care about.
Yeah. And we know each other from Rompt. And this
Yes,
organization
Ram,
was co-created by Lachi. And speaking of
Lachi.
someone who's really like,
Absolutely. Let me tell you my Lachi story, okay?
okay.
I'm so sorry, like I didn't mean to cut you off. But my Lachi story is so cool. I was going through a huge depression. And, I'm like, do I go back to corporate America or do I really just take another stab at music? And those voices in your head that tell you, oh, nobody's going to pay
Mm.
attention to you. No one's going to take you serious. You're blind. There aren't any blind singers right now. It's not, in vogue to be a disabled artist. So I thought. And then I'm scrolling through Instagram and I come across Lachi and she was doing her Black Blind Girl word of the day that she
Yeah.
does.
Yes.
And I'm like, who is this? Who is this? And I go to her page and I'm looking, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's a blind artist. She's actually a blind artist. Then I listen to her music. I'm like, okay, so she jamming too. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is my inspiration. Like she really was that catalyst to say, if this blind Black woman can do this, then I can do this too. It's possible, and I think representation in music is so important. And she was that representation um, from an adult perspective, you know, um, for me. She really, really was. And her art, what she does, and even Ramp, her organization, they really showed me that we can be taken seriously in the music business. We do have a place and our art is just as good or better than a lot of the stuff that's going on in mainstream, and we should be mainstream. So I really applaud her with all of her efforts with Ramp and how she helps other disabled artists.
Yes. Definitely.
Absolutely. I know I'm long-winded, Diane.
I love it. I mean, really. And then
Oh God.
all this Rompt, I was speaking with Lachi just before she launched Rompt. And
Oh
then I
really?
spoke with her just after she launched Rompt, and all the projects she had in mind on that. And look
Uh-huh.
at where it is today, right? It's a
It's
fantastic
awesome.
organization.
It's an
And we're,
amazing organization.
yeah, and meeting so many fantastic artists. And wow, yeah.
Yes. And see, I get to talk to you because of Ramp.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? How awesome is that?
So speaking of that, I know that I like to talk about the place of disability in the arts and the fact that we work in this environment where we promote the fact that artists with disabilities are awesome, basically, because we are.
Right, because we are. Because we are.
So what does it mean for you to work in that kind of environment where we promote disability in the arts?
It means everything to me. I say it all the time that if I can inspire or encourage or just show one future disabled artist, whether they're a little kid now or they're an adult or whatever, if I could just move one person to just believe and see that I did it and I'm doing it, and it doesn't have to fit into the mold of what, you know, the pop star or the R&B star or the rock star looks like, that I'm doing my job. You know, I'm a Black man first. I'm a blind man. I am a gay man. So I belong to a lot of different intersecting communities. And I want to make sure that I'm representing all of those intersections in excellence. You know, so I want to inspire, hopefully, little disabled kids or even disabled adults, just so they can see that we're doing this and we are able, you know, we're capable. So, you know, if I can inspire a little gay kid, you know, or LGBTQ plus kid, that your version of LGBTQ doesn't have to look like someone else's. It can look just like you. If I'm inspiring them, if I inspire a little Black boy or girl or any person of color, kid of color, then I'm doing my job. So it means the world to me to be able to do this as a disabled artist and do it in excellence and really represent for my community. You know, it means the world.
Yay. Sorry. I love it.
No, wait. I hope that was a good yay. Oh my God.
Well, speaking of inspiration and people who might have inspired you in your career, and
Uh-huh.
maybe if you have someone in mind who has guided you during your career or has been specifically present in your life, who would it be and why?
You know, what I have to do is first tip my hats off to my family. You know, Deshaymond Media LLC is my business. It's my media company that I release from and all of that stuff, and all of my art comes from. But it's a family business, and I have a family that loves me and believes in me so much. They inspire me to be the best me. Them just putting all of their time and energy and their love and, you know, the attention into my dream is it's such a blessing, and I know people don't always, you know, have that. So they inspire me, and they definitely influence me. But if it had to be on the arts side, from an artist standpoint, I think that most definitely Lachi is very high on that list. um, just in the short time that I've been in her presence, been acquainted with her, you know, it's so many things that she's just by watching her has opened me up to and provided me with. So hats off to her. Um, I love that I saw. I got to really see Ray Charles before losing my sight and Stevie Wonder because I remember their music videos and I remember their performance and I remember how infectious they were. And I think of those images that I saw that was so powerful to me as a little kid. And I try to put that into my live performance. And I want to make people feel like that. So those three artists definitely, but also who taught me how to be an artist. And you know, I told you it was going to be multiple people, Diane. But you know, Monica, I have to say her because she is the epitome of being real for me. You know, when I first saw her first music video or heard her on the radio, I remember just saying, she sounds like my cousin. She sounds like the girls in the neighborhood. She sounds like my sisters. You know, she sounds like those people. And then when I saw her, how beautiful she was, but she was just a Black girl just twisting her neck and being everything she was and confident. Like I pull from her confidence. She taught me how to be organic as an artist and not care what people thought. You know, you heard my album, so you know I say whatever I want to say. You know, she taught me how to do that and stand up in it, but still do it with sophistication and class, and still do it at a very, very high level. You know, she really did. Watching her, listening to her, her interviews, and all of that stuff. She taught me how to do what artists do, like the interviews for that matter. Like she taught me how to do that. by watching her. So yeah, those artists are who inspired me.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation. And I wish you all the best for all your future projects, future albums, future singles, and all
Yeah.
everything that will come.
Thank you so much, Diane. Thank you for having me, and big ups to ArtsAbly. I love what you do with that organization. Keep it going.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.